From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One more corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi.
And Corey Clark.
These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do.
Wake up! What is up? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. CPTallybar.com. Check out the website. Check out the QR code. Scan it. Go to the website. Check out the daily specials or stand by. Here you go. Wednesday's lunch special. Pressed ham and Swiss. How about that, Corey? Thoughts?
I've had it multiple times. It's good. It keeps me coming back for more. It's like a Cuban. Just think of it, it's like their version of a Cuban.
Okay.
But it's really tasty, man. Like I said, they do it all well. They do it all, and it's always served to you with a smile.
$8.99 lunch specials, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Go check it out. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminoles sports source. Please hit the thumbs up if you're listening to us on YouTube. Please hit the thumbs up. It matters. You know, we're not keeping score, or we don't make the rules on how the score is kept, but that's how the score is kept. So hit the thumbs up, please. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. And maybe a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Maybe I'll wait in there one of these days and pull one out. And also some announcements. We got a really jam-packed show today for you on this Wednesday, but also some announcements before we get to it. We'll have a live show later today. As you're listening to this, we'll have it. What do you want to do, 7 o'clock, Corey? Deal? Sold?
I thought we were doing it after the spring game, buddy. I thought that's what we agreed upon.
No, Langston's out of town, man. Langston's doing recruiting stuff.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, then, 7 o'clock's good. That'll work.
Boom. We just did that, everybody.
Okay.
And a reminder, spring game is next weekend. Come join us in Tallahassee, everybody. We'll be at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill 5 to 6 p.m. Live happy hour with Jeff and Corey. Check that out. Have some other folks mingling around. You can meet and greet. But if you get into town on game day, we'll be over at the Hotel Indigo on site from 12 to 3 p.m. with a meet and greet at noon. Then a live pregame show with Jeff and Tom, Jeff Cameron, Tom Lang, 1 p.m. There'll be a watch-along with Gene and Tom, Gene Williams, and then the Warchant post-game call-in show after the spring game. Who loves you? Who loves you, Florida State fans? Spring football resumed on Tuesday. Practice, we went and observed it. Pro Day also going on. Totally forgot about that. Another transfer enters the portal. We are a football show. Corey maybe doesn't agree to that, but I think we're a football show, but I'm not going to lead off with football today, Corey. I was a bit stunned rolling up the practice on Tuesday afternoon. Saw Austin Cox, Irish O'Fell diligently working, you as well, on your phone. And I'm like, somebody mentioned that Brooke. I'm like, oh, you guys working on the Brooke Wyckoff story. I was being a little bit coy. Brooke Wyckoff, shout out, new women's head basketball coach, replacing Sue Semrau. And you guys are like, no, man, Krikorian too. And I'm like, what? So Mark Krikorian, the architect of 3 national championships at Florida State, in his illustrious career here in Tallahassee, abruptly announced that he was leaving, resigned. I don't think he's retiring, but I don't know. We don't know what his future plans are. But that was a bombshell, man. What an absolute stunning revelation. A bummer, man. I'm sad.
Yeah, that was a bit. That was completely, obviously unexpected, and kind of out of nowhere. And it's like, you know, to give people an idea, so normally when something like this would happen, like when Sue did it, that was done through the school. The school sent a release saying that Semrau was stepping down, and they had quotes and thanks. The aide, Alford thanked her. I'm sure the president thanked her. I don't remember. It was a while ago. I don't quite remember what the release was, but it was released. And that's how news like this normally happens. It's released through the school. Just to give you guys an idea of maybe why this is different is the school did not release this. This was Mark Krikorian emailing about 15 to 20 local media members essentially his resignation letter. It was not done through the school. It did not have quotes from the president and from the AD. It was Mark Krikorian saying he's loved his 17 years here, and while FSU offered a generous contract, it's not about the money. So read that how you want to take it. But clearly, not any inside knowledge. I've not talked to Krikorian. I've not talked to Alford. Clearly, there was animosity there, and Krikorian was not happy with the direction that the new athletic director had taken. in regards to, I assume, funding his program, the resources for his program, whatever you want to say about it. That's what it is. This was not mutual. This was not like, hey, he's going on to coach he's got a bigger, better offer somewhere else. This was, and I'm sure he can go anywhere. He can name the school he wants to go coach at. But this was clearly a head coach that got fed up with something with the new administration and walked. And look, it's women's soccer, and I love Mark Krikorian. He was probably my favorite coach to deal with, and he was probably the best coach in this school's history in any sport. 17 years at the helm, 11 college cups, which if you guys don't know, that's the equivalent of the Final Four. So 11 Final Fours, 6 national championship games, 3 national titles. The other 2 of those 3 that they lost, he's really close to having 5 national championships. Either way, he had 3. And he just won one last year. So the program was going in the right direction, and now it's been imploded. But it's also women's soccer. And I know people listening to this, most of you listen because of football. And if the reality is, and again, this is just speculation, which is what we're paid to do. Well, we're also paid to get the actual facts too, guys. We can't do both. But it's a lot easier to speculate, isn't it? The speculation is that maybe there's more attention, more money is going to football, and that edict has been that edict has been handed down. It is known throughout the campus that maybe the I don't want to call them the Olympic sports. Soccer's an Olympic sport, right?
Yeah.
The non-revenue sports maybe won't have the type of funding that they've had in the past if it takes away from football. Football is priority 1, 2, and 3 right now, but this is what you risk, man.
This is what we signed up for, though, right? This is what everybody.
Sure.
When everybody says they want football first, this is what it looks like. Sue Semrau, I think, was getting somewhere north of $700,000 a year. They hired Brooke Wyckoff, who's got no head coaching experience other than the 1 year that Sue sat out to take care of her family. It'll be interesting to see what the terms of her contract are. I imagine it'll be a substantial savings. Krikorian did say he got a generous contract offer. To your point, Corey, you don't just leave if there's not something that's lacking, probably. So we would perhaps.
And it wasn't like he was. It wasn't like some guys want to step down on top. They want to leave on top. This was not that. This is not, again, if he was leaving on top or if he was going to coach a national team or professional team overseas somewhere or whatever, this would have been done through the university, and they would have rolled out the red carpet to say goodbye and had all these quotes from all these people. Now, they did release one later in the day, but basically that release, Florida State did release something, but it was basically to say they're going to do a national search, and they're dedicated to keeping, the soccer program as one of the best in the country. And they had a couple of nice things to say about Krikorian then, but no, this was not done normally. So it makes you think, it doesn't make you think. We know this was Krikorian was fed up with something, and he thought it was time to move on. And it's just, to me, it's a sad, but I know the realities of college sports and expenditures and non-revenue versus football and all that, but it is a sad day because that dude was awesome to deal with, and he was literally probably the best coach this campus has ever had in anything.
Yeah. Everybody that's a Florida State fan is a Florida State fan because of how successful the football program was. But we got spoiled by success that we were able to find it elsewhere when the football team couldn't deliver. And there's a lot of people that are now nervous about what this might mean for Lonnie Alameda. Is she next? Is softball going to maybe not get the attention that it wants or thinks it deserves? Because obviously Mark Krikorian feels that his program is not getting the attention that maybe he wants. Because, again, he said his contract was generous, but there's other things than just your contract when it comes to building a program. Listen, man, we celebrated
maintaining a program.
Yeah. I mean, it's some of the stuff the guy that's in College Station talked about, but was a little bit more brusque about it because that's how he rolls. But
it's brusque, isn't it? Do you
brusque,
pronounce
okay.
it brusque?
I don't know.
It could be. I don't know. I don't ever say that word.
I know a lot of big words, everybody. I don't know how to pronounce them. I can read them though, and I know what they mean.
Nice.
So whatever that counts for. But again, we celebrated all these big hires and infrastructure that was built up around the football program, support staff, and, we kind of ruminated to ourselves, maybe we're not as broke as we think we are. And it's like, well, maybe other things are being, diverted to make this a reality. And listen, man, I don't know if you can say that to Krikorian. It's like, hey, if we get this thing back on track, if this Norvell guy works, then we can come back and revisit some of these things you want. But we've got to get this football thing back on track to keep everybody else sustainable and viable. Because, yeah, I mean, you call it Olympic sports or you call it non-revenue sports, a lot of people say. Football carries the day here and everywhere when it comes to college sports. So they do have to get this fixed. And I think it's even leads you to believe that, man, is this doubling down not only on football, but are you doubling down on MikeNorvell to a certain degree then if you're going to let Mark Krikorian walk? Or is that too far of a bridge to sell somebody right now? Is that too much?
I think they're mutually exclusive. Look, I don't think it's doubling down on Norvell as much as doubling down on football. And look, man, look at all the additions they made to the coaching staff, support staff.
Yes.
In the last 2 months, like that's a lot of money. And so if you're a Krikorian and you're asking, again, I'm speaking completely without having spoken to Mark or Michael Alford, but if you're Krikorian and you're asking for X amount of dollars and then you see the football team has spent this amount of dollars for all these made-up titles that you don't quite understand, and you just won a national championship, you're third, you might get you might be a little upset about it. You're third since Florida State was, won one in football. So you might be like, okay, well, you might feel a little unappreciated or disrespected. Whatever it is. And it's just a shame because the guy's awesome. He's just an awesome coach.
He's the best coach in the country. He's the best coach in the country.
He's got the best program in the country. And again, it's soccer. So there's the competing feelings if you're a Florida State fan of, okay, football has to be king. It has to be prince. It has to be the prince's son. Like it has to be the whole royal family. But man, you don't want to lose things like this because right now you're not good in football. In the sense of school pride, as minimal as it might be, there is some pride that comes with having the best program in the country in anything. Yeah. And what you're worried about is, man, I don't know that this program is set up to where, it's just going to keep running smoothly down the tracks. Like, it seems so much like Mark Krikorian's program. Like, he's the one that goes and gets the international kids. He is the one that built this thing. He is the one that plays this style of soccer that is so appealing to high school girls all over the country and all over the world. Yeah, all over the world to come play in. He's the one that does it. So when he leaves, does the appeal of Florida State leave with him? At least probably not in the short term, you wouldn't think. But how many of these girls on his team are going to stay? All of this matters. All of it. But again, or it doesn't, depending on your point of view. You might not, you guys, there's plenty of you guys listening to this that don't really care all that much if the soccer team is good or great. You just don't. And I'm not judging you for that. Most college fan bases aren't as invested in women's soccer as the Florida State fan base appears to be. But there are plenty of Florida State fans that aren't all that invested in women's soccer or softball for that matter. But man, you're not great at many things at this school right now. You're good at a lot of stuff, but you're great essentially at two things. I guess three if you want to count beach volleyball, is soccer and softball. And you just lost the best soccer coach in the country. So, but, if we don't know the machinations of how it all happened, what happened. So we can't, again, all we're doing is speculating. So
as I said, national search to commence to find the replacement for Mark Krikorian. Elsewhere, the search for Sue Semrau's successor is done. Brooke Wyckoff, shout out, 2001 All-American for the Noles, been on the coaching staff for the past 11 years. And again, as we mentioned, served as interim coach back in that COVID season, is now the full-time head coach of the Florida State women's basketball program. So best of luck to her. She takes over the reins for the Noles. Again, it'll be interesting maybe to see what the contract details are on that, but maybe some new blood, and that gets you kind of going in the right direction. So that's the segment on the non-revenue sports. We'll talk about baseball at the end of the show too. We're recording this as the game's going on right now. I had to kind of walk away, and then they're blowing it open now. Great. We're doing the shift, Corey. The shift's not working. They're hitting away from the shift. We had like a 3-run home run. They got robbed. It was a really nice catch. Yeah. I don't want to talk about it. It's making me depressed. Let's talk about football, which has been just a source of good times and good feelings for us the last several years. They resumed practice on Tuesday. Afterwards, Coach Norvell not all that stoked with how practice went, but so it's going to happen. They're at the midway point. They're coming off a scrimmage. But he says that's not an excuse. You can't find the comfort. You can't be like a normal human being, pretty much, he said. You can't get content, I guess, to a certain degree. For as good as we felt about the way practice looked on Thursday, I titled our podcast Best Practice Ever with like 6 R's. Mm-hmm. Tuesday wasn't the antithesis of it, but it wasn't. We didn't stack another great one on top of Thursday, did we?
No, I wrote the story on Tuesday afterwards, and I went back because I tracked the like I always do. I tracked the 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 stuff, and I think I had Rodemaker like 13 of 20. I had Jordan Travis 12 of 18. And you hear those numbers, and you're like, all right, yeah, that's pretty good. What was that? 25 out of I can't do math. 38, something like that. Like that's not bad. That's pretty good completion percentage. One pass was completed that was. No, I don't know. Take that back. 0 passes between them were over 20 yards. They did not throw one pass that traveled 20 yards in the air and was caught. Or one pass that was.
It's all running backs catching
it. It was running backs and dump offs and wide receiver screens, and it was a lot of check downs. It was a lot of not seeing what was in the middle of the field or wide receivers not getting open and having to take check downs for 2 yards here, 6 yards there. A couple, Biscuit had a couple nice catches in the middle of the field. Oh, that was it. Nobody else did anything in the middle of the field, and it was just kind of gross. Just not even gross. It was just blah. It wasn't awful. It's not like they made horrible mistakes. There wasn't. The only interception was in one-on-one drills where our man Azarie. Golly, I'm going to get that right. I need to. He's going to win the Thorpe.
It sounds the way it's spelled. I mean, it tripped me up the first few times.
Well, to me, it looks like Azarie. Like that's how I try to remember because it's hard to spell, folks.
Yeah.
But I think I've gotten to the point of it now where I know I memorized it, like I did Krzyzewski back in the day. But it's Azareye. So I do it Azar and then I, like the I in your face, and then an apostrophe H, which I've never seen an apostrophe that late in a name.
Yeah, neither have I.
It's a tough one. That's why it's a little odd to pronounce, but it's Azarie.
Boom! Look at you.
There you go. Azarie. I want to say Azarie, but Azarie Thomas had a pick on a fade pass on one-on-one routes because he does that, man. He's good at high pointing the ball and locating it. Again, have no idea how good he's going to be when actual football games start, but he's impressive right now for a freshman. But that was the only interception. I think Duffy might have even thrown that. I'm not sure. But other than that, there weren't any interceptions in 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. It wasn't like they were awful. It was just there wasn't a ton of urgency, I didn't think, and Norvell actually used that word. The pace wasn't great, and all the throws seemed to be sluggish checkdowns. And the receivers who were so good on Thursday just didn't make any plays happen.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just great coverage, but I failed no offense to the secondary. It's not a shot at them. I don't think any secondary is going to go 10 periods of locking down the opposition because they're just, Jordan was looking for stuff, couldn't find it, would scramble and the play would be whistled dead. I think maybe Tate had a little bit more success finding some stuff and getting out of his hand quicker. There was a few jailbreaks, but the offensive line held up decent when they would go to 11-on-11. So it was a lot of things in the mix that didn't go right. But ultimately, I guess you can maybe lean on and at least think that maybe the defense did well. No one's completed a catch against Omarion Cooper yet, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. Like in anything.
Well, no, he's given up a few, but not many. It's about 10% of the balls thrown his way.
Maybe like on one-on-ones, which that's a really tough ask. But 7-on-7, 11-on-11, man, he's holding down the fort. So shout out to him. But these practice happen, so maybe we need to tamp back. Maybe we're not going to the Belk Bowl. Maybe Gasparilla Bowl. We'll take it. Just
any
Shreveport,
bowl,
please. Just
any bowl.
Yeah. So.
Well, I think when you brought up Travis, I should point out like Rodemaker had more 12, 14-yard passes. A lot of Travis's stuff was 4 yards, 6 yards, 0 yards. Just it didn't look fluid. It didn't look rhythmical. Is that a word? Rhythmical?
Rhythmic, I think, would have been.
Rhythmic. Yeah, it didn't look rhythmic at all. It was just kind of a lot of stop and start and scramble a little bit and maybe dump it off and throw it away, roll out to the right, nothing's open, throw it away. That happened 3 or 4 times, which we got to see a lot last year. And that was the disappointing is that it didn't build on what we saw on Thursday. But like I always say when it comes to spring practices in particular, Well, doesn't that mean that the defense rebounded a little bit? And it's always hard to judge these coaches. Jimbo was like this too. All right, did the whole team have a bad practice, or did the side you care about the most, because you're essentially the OC, have a bad practice, and you're throwing the whole team under the umbrella? Because to me, that kind of felt like what it was. It felt to me like the offense wasn't very good. It was lethargic and no big plays at all. So now we're going to label it as a bad practice by the whole team. But I think he's really speaking about the offense. I thought it was not a step back. I mean, it was one practice. But they did not build upon what they had looked like the last practice. The offense did not. Yeah,
and we don't know how the scrimmage looked. We weren't there, so tough to kind of get a read on it. But, yeah, I just think, there was pretty good coverage, man. There was nothing downfield. We were at one point where it's like, man, please throw the ball downfield, and they eventually did, but it was an incomplete pass. But maybe, shout out
Pokey fell down. Yeah. Like Pokey fell down on that one. That would just summed up the day. Like they finally took a shot. I think it was Jordan took a shot downfield. Wasn't like wide open, but he was throwing to a spot. And when Pokey was cutting back towards the sideline, he fell down.
Yeah. A couple drops too from the 3-back spot. Let's get that cleaned up. Let's get somebody there who wants to start producing consistently. But, again, we'll see how they bounce back on Thursday. They'll practice Thursday, and they will have a scrimmage on Saturday. And then, again, next Saturday, the following Saturday, will be the Garnet and Gold game. I actually really wanted to ask Norvell about Jarvis Brownlee being at Pro Day. Did you see this, Corey?
We talked about it. We talked about it on headlines, yeah. Well,
why didn't we talk? I wish I would have known this. I would have asked Coach about it after practice Tuesday, just like.
Well, that would have been the point of that.
Well, we'll just, hey, Leonard put his name in the portal, and he's now part of your plans. I mean, is it sometimes?
I see what you're saying, to see if maybe he's actually rethinking it.
Is a door left open for guys sometimes? Can they reconsider? Can they do stuff to get back in their good graces? Because Corey Wren announced he was going to the portal.
Yes.
So, hey, he wasn't running with ones and twos, but he was making some plays out there when he was given the opportunity. He just has speed. You figure that's something you could probably find some use for at some point. But, again, he's entered his name in the transfer portal, which is kind of something that we probably have to keep an eye on because the march to 85 is getting closer. They're over the number right now, which I don't even know how that works. Can you only have 85 once fall starts?
Yes.
I posed that rhetorically.
So I didn't talk about this on the show, right? That the writer for the AJC that covers Georgia Tech asked me to.
We tweeted. It was a group text for a second.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So he DM'd me. He slid into my DMs, folks. It happens. You're always allowed to slide up in there. Just be respectful of Stephanie, and he was. But Ken asked me because he was doing a story on the numbers for Georgia Tech and how they compared to the rest of the ACC as far as scholarship guys. And so he asked me, how many players does Florida State currently have on scholarship in the spring, like on their roster? And this was before Corey Wren. But I think it was after Brownlee. But anyway, I went down and I tracked all the numbers that are currently on the roster right now. This does not include high school seniors that aren't here yet.
Which is 4.
So keep that in mind. There's 4, right, that we're expecting to come in the fall. Yeah. So right now, Florida State is at 84 on this current spring roster that are scholarship players. No, sorry. Now it's 83 with Corey Wren in the portal. Okay. So if you add the 4 high school kids that are coming in the summer that don't count yet, well, you're up to 87. That's 2 more than you're allowed. So clearly, Corey Wren will not be the last Florida State player to be in the portal. The question is how many. I think because they got to get down. They got to at least lose
2 more, at least 2.
2 more, yeah. And you really think you're going to get at least a couple more kids in the portal. Remember, Dylan Gibbons didn't come until after spring. I can't remember Keir Thomas, but I know Dylan Gibbons didn't come until after the spring last year. So you're going to want to have a few spots available for guys like that that can help immediately. And there will be guys that hit the market after spring practice. That's another kind of wave where this happens. So yeah, they got to get down. Right now, they're at, what do we say they're at? 87, probably 87. They probably want to get down to 80, 81. So you have 4 spots available for a position of need here and there. But yeah, I think the Corey Wren stuff was, look, I would think what happens is.
By the way, he committed in January, so I'm pretty sure he was here for spring then.
Oh, okay, all right. I would say that, with Corey Wren, I don't think that timing is accidental in the sense that, they just had a scrimmage. And I feel like the scrimmage might tell you where you are in the pecking order and what chances you have of playing. And if you're at a 2-hour scrimmage and you're running, just guessing, 5th team, 6th team, you're the 6th running back to get a rep or the 4th or 5th running back to get a rep, but you know Rodney Hill's coming. Even if you're, quote unquote listed above him on the depth chart, and I don't think that Corey Wren was necessarily, you can see the writing on the wall. And look, I thought Wren had some nice runs. I thought he had some nice moments, but he was clearly not like going to be a feature back ever. He was going to be a guy you run an in around with or run a tall sweep like you did with Kermit Whitfield back in the day, once or twice a game maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what he did, you hope, for the kid. I got no ill will towards the kid. I hope there's enough. He made enough positive plays in practice that he can put that on his huddle film, and that's something he can show potential schools. Like, look, I can do this. Look, there's these 6 plays here. Watch, give me a chance. So anyway, Corey Wren was the second after Brownlee, but you're looking at probably at least 5 or 6 more guys that will cycle out of the program because they see the writing on the wall and know they're not going to play.
Yeah. Yeah, give really nice sign-off on Instagram as well. So, shout out.
Oh,
to
did
him.
he? That's good. Good for him. Yeah.
I cherish each and every moment with you. I've made for everlasting relationships. It'll always have a special place in my heart. With that said, hitting the road. I love it. I love it. Like it's that line with that. It's with that being said, and it's like there's something else that they always use to kind of transition to. I'm out of here. It's just.
Yeah.
It's like you telling Stephanie all these great things. She's like, oh, my God, he's going to finally propose. And you're like, with that being said, I think I'm going to go back being single. It's like,
yeah,
what?
yeah, this ain't for me. This ain't for me. Yeah. With that being said, I can't do this anymore. That's essentially what comes after with that being said. But going back to Brownlee, so Ira brought it up, is like, say Brownlee wasn't invited. And again, we're just here to speculate. Ira got the sense that maybe he wasn't for Pro Day, but he just showed up. Yeah. What if you're the coach? And I'm just saying, I'm not saying Norvell didn't want him there. They might have a okay mended relationship. He was basically suspended, which is different than Leonard Warner, where Leonard Warner just was looking for a better opportunity then decided to come back. Brownlee was suspended, not quite kicked off the team, but clearly his role here was tenuous, and then he ends up hitting the portal. If that guy that you've suspended that is in the portal comes in and wants to watch your pro day, do you let him as the head coach?
Yeah, Ira's comment when asked about it on the Tribal Council was, which I shouldn't say, this is only for our subscribers, but we'll open the curtain.
This one time you get a glimpse.
It sounded like, this is according to Ira, it sounded like he wanted to support Miko and some of his other guys. So yeah, if he's going to go there, he's not going to be a distraction. It's pro day. What's he going to do? He's not going to act the fool or anything out there. So yeah, if he wants to come support his teammates, I guess.
But they're not his teammates anymore, right? Like, that's the thing. He kind of left
once
the
an
team.
Always an old. Come on, Corey.
Yeah, he left the team.
Well, you signed that NLI, man. Come on. Once an old, always an old. Vanez Gooch, too, man. Once an old.
Sure.
Always.
So I was wondering.
He's wearing the Dion jacket, too. He's wearing the Dion FSU Letterman jacket that Dion was rocking in Shreveport when Odell was coaching the boys. So I don't know if that's a sign of things to come, but he was wearing an FSU jacket, so he's still got love, man.
Maybe he's taking himself out of the portal. Who knows? We'll see. I just and like you wonder if Norvell wasn't happy about it. There's also really nothing you can do. What is he going to go have a confrontation with him in front of 150 people and a bunch of pro scouts in the ACC network? They were filming it, right? Weren't they there?
Yeah.
So you probably don't. Now, look, I was saying what my point was, if you really don't want him to be there, but you don't want to have a confrontation, you got a lot of big strength coaches that, look, you're not gonna pick them up and take them out of the IPF like a child, but you got a couple really enormous strength coaches that could be like, hey man, let's go ahead and walk on out of here. Yeah. But it didn't happen. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. But I took it in a different way. I didn't think, oh, maybe he's trying to work his way back into the good graces. I was like, even though I'm off the team, I'm going to stroll into this IPF and let's see if they do anything about it. No. But could be completely wrong. You're probably right. Probably right.
Yeah, I like it though. I like you think that he got kicked out of the club and he's coming back in. Where like going Bobby Valentine's, putting on a little bit of a disguise.
That's right.
So speaking of Pro Day. Dudes worked out. We spoke to 9 of them on Monday. Most of those interviews are on our YouTube channel, but if you go to Warchant, there's a story, and if you click on it, you'll see all of them. there's a science to what we do nowadays on our YouTube page. Everybody check it out. Jermaine goes on the bench, 225 pounds, and I think he repped this is on our site, 26 to 27. It was hard to tell because a little bit distance from where we were able to watch. And
which would have been one of the best.
When I say we, I mean Ira and Austin. I was not there. They would not let me in. I went there, and they were like, oh, no, we don't have a pass for you. But that's for another episode.
I'm going to hope next time my man Aslan says, okay, well, find a pass for me. Like, don't just take no for an answer. Who even was the person that was telling you no? Do they have any idea who you are?
I'm not going to be that guy. I just can't. I'm not good at diplomacy these days. Like, when I get pushback, I'm like, I'm going to make a scene. I'm going to disgrace the website. I don't want to do that. So I'll take my L.
You'll just make Austin work more.
Well,
I'll see how it is.
We're getting him ready. We're getting him ready for the belt bowl, man. Yeah, we're grooming him.
We're not grooming him to take your job, I hope.
No, I don't know.
All right.
Kier got up 20 on the bench. DeKalen, I meant to ask him, did we know if I'm not – 24 is what we have on the website.
Wow.
That's incredible if he did that. DeKalen, barely probably
Miko
was over 200.
Didn't Miko do a bunch too? He did like 24 or 25, I thought.
No,
which would have been
really?
I think so, which would have led the combine if he had been invited. There's the rub, though. He was not invited to the combine, so I don't know how much they care about him throwing it up 25 times, but good for him, man. That's impressive if it was something like that. And then going back to Jermaine, that's crazy with DeKalen. But
27 for Jermaine, and that's just solidifies him, man. Just everything he's doing.
Because wouldn't that have been one of the bigger numbers at the combine for a defensive end, right near the top?
Yeah, Kier did 20, so that's incredible, man. 27, that's strong, man.
And also ran what he ran, a 4.54. So he's one of the fastest defensive ends in the draft. Perhaps the strongest defensive end in the draft, just judging by bench press. And then also, had a pretty good year on film, too. I think he's solidified. Again, I'm not necessarily a scout, but you would think he's a first-rounder for sure. Yeah. And maybe top 10, top 15 pick. And I tell you again, we got to talk to him on Monday before the pro day. He is just as impressive as he's just an impressive dude. Yeah. And it's crazy. We never really got to ask him this. I never did. Like a one-on-one, he talked about because he had the JUCO route. He went the JUCO route because he didn't get qualified. I'm like, dude, I want to be like, how did you not get qualified?
Yeah,
you're one of the smartest people we've ever talked to. Like, he is a genuinely intelligent person, and it's just, I guess, people, you don't maybe take grades seriously at some points in your life. I get it, but man, he is a bright dude, and he will always be it seems to me anyway, will always rep Florida State. I do not think he's going to be one of those guys on Monday Night Football. I was funny when you asked Mackenzie Milton about that, by the way. But he is not going to be one of those guys on Monday Night Football that says something else other than Florida State. Yeah. He ain't saying Georgia, and he's not saying last chance you. He's almost certainly going to say Florida State.
Yeah. That's cool, though. And he also mentioned that there's going to be a watch party back home, but he plans on going to the draft and hearing his name called out, walking up on stage, which will be cool, man. That'd be awesome to see that. It feels like it's been a minute since we've seen that happen. Yeah. But he says it's going to be like in the middle of his hometown back in Minnesota or back in Minneapolis. Wait, Minnesota. Minnesota's a state. Minneapolis is the city. I was going to get it figured out. So it's somewhere in Minnesota. And it's going to be at a bowling alley. That's awesome. That's so quaint and Midwestern,
That is Minnesotan. That is straight up Minnesota. That's like Big Lebowski stuff. Although I guess that was filmed in California, maybe. But I get the Big Lebowski because it's by the guys, the Coen brothers, that did Fargo. So it's like, all right, there's the Midwestern feel there. But anyway, that's all he did at Pro Day was the bench press. And then you're somebody asked us on headlines about, other than Jermaine Johnson, which of the guys that was working out at Pro Day has the best chance to have a long NFL career. And you're like, man, that's kind of the issue with the program right now. It ain't DeKalen Brooks. It's not Andrew Parchment. It's not Mackenzie Milton. Like, there aren't a lot of options.
Emmett Rice,
Emmett
Jordan
Rice,
Wilson.
Yeah. Jordan Wilson maybe can make a roster because of the size. Yeah. You think in the blocking ability.
Kier?
Kier has a chance.
Man.
Yeah, I think Kier has a chance to make a roster, and he's not going to get embarrassed. Like, he can be a solid player at that level, I think, but he's certainly not going to be a star because he wasn't a star in college. So that probably won't happen. And then Jashawn Corbin will probably get drafted, I would think. And I think it sounded like he had a pretty good day on Tuesday at Pro Day. But the shelf life of running back is a couple years. So, the guy that'll be in the league the longest will be Jermaine Johnson, you would think. And then after that, man, it's a crapshoot. There's not a lot of great options from this program going in the 2022 draft. But good luck to all those guys. I hope they find a home and get to play pro ball somewhere. That would be cool.
Yeah, hopefully Devontae Love-Taylor, shout out, Trench Talk OG. Holding it down. Yeah, I think he got 20 reps. Mako also told our guys he ran a 4.4840, so that's solid. That's good. That'll maybe get you an invite somewhere.
Ira said when he was there, some of the players, the current Florida State players, because they go there these things are flooded on the sidelines with Florida State players because they want to see how it all works. They're hoping to get there one day, and they were timing the 40 with their phones. And one of the kids, when Miko ran, he did the stopwatch on his iPhone and then looked at it. It's like, I got him at 4.27. It's like, I was like, buddy, you did not get him at 4.27. You're not quick enough on the draw, buddy. That's Dion fast. That's like all-time fast. Miko Dotson isn't that.
All right, then, baseball. We made it the entire way here, everybody. We waited till the game was over. 6-3, Florida takes down Florida State in Jacksonville. Bit of an unlucky night for the Noles. Logan Lacey had a home run. Gosh, that was the third inning or so, pretty much robbed. Would have been a 3-run home run? I think so.
Yep.
Then they close it to 5-3. Davis Hare can't field a comebacker to the mound. He throws it, gosh, I don't even know where. Left, right, over Alex Terrell's head. Florida gets a 6th run, and they win that one 6-3. They get a runner on in the 9th inning, but Terrell grounds out. Ironically, I don't know if it's ironically or like just a cruel twist of fate, into the shift, which I think kind of failed and betrayed Florida State on Tuesday at Jacksonville. Thoughts on the game, between Florida and Florida State, Corey? Florida State was ranked 5th I think they're like top 5 now almost on D1. Not a way you want to start the weekend with Link Jarrett and Notre Dame coming to town.
Yeah, no, these are great. It's a great test for this crew, though. Look, I think the story was – I didn't think Montgomery was terrible. But, they tied it up 2-2. He had done – I was actually surprised Meat went back out to him. He got a big strikeout to end the 4th inning, I think.
Huge one, yeah.
And then he comes back out for the 5th. Florida State ties it up to 2-2. But they left – look, man, I think the story of the night – for me was Florida State got a bunch of walks. I think they had – what did they have? They had 9 hits and 6 walks and 1 hit by pitch. So that's 16 base runners, and only 3 of them scored. One was on a bases-loaded walk. Another one was on a pop-up sac fly, and another one was a single with the infield drawn in. That was it. They could not get the big hit when it mattered, but they got runners on base, which is a good thing. I mean, eventually those hits will start. You can't judge just on one game in baseball. I just thought, you talk about being unlucky. The big hit they got was a 3-run homer by Lacey that was robbed. Like, that's the whole difference. Florida's home run went out over the fence, couldn't catch it because the guy hit it too well off Montgomery to make it a 5-2 game. But Lacey, if that thing counts, if that thing gets over if it goes another foot, kid made a great play.
Fantastic.
But if it goes another foot,
it was a really great catch.
If it goes another foot, he can't get it. All of a sudden Florida State's up 4-1. And the whole game is different there in the 3rd inning. I thought Montgomery was okay. A couple of the walks were a little disappointing because he got ahead 1-2 and then couldn't finish them off. But, so it's 2-2. Montgomery gets out of a jam in the bottom of the 4th with striking out the kid. Nice pitch. But he's at like 80 pitches, 85 pitches, something like that. And then Meat runs him back out for the 5th. Maybe 80 pitches. He runs him back out for the 5th. He gives up a leadoff triple where the guy didn't crush the ball, but he hit it in a perfect spot. And apparently he's the next Usain Bolt. It was a fly ball to left center field that kid turned into a stand-up triple. Then he scores on a ground out. He strikes out the next guy. I think the umpire called that kid out for arguing the second strike, and the umpire got tired of it. The kid kept talking. So he just rung him up for strike 3 without a pitch being thrown. I didn't even know that was something you could do.
You can? What?
I guess he had thrown 2 pitches, Montgomery, to this kid. The kid argued each time. It's Fabian's little brother, I think. Argued each time. In the second time, the umpire's just like, that's it. That's strike 3. Go back to the dugout. I didn't even know that was possible. But I had the volume down, so I'm not sure if that's what happened, but I think that's what happened. But anyway, so there's 2 outs. Montgomery is almost out of the inning and then gives up, I think he hung something, it looked like, and the kid hits a 2-run homer, and that's the difference in the game. Their home run went over the fence and into the grass. Florida State's didn't. Other than that, it was pretty two evenly matched teams, man. I mean, you look at the hits. I think Florida State had Florida had 10. Florida State had 9. Florida State did make 2 errors. The one by Jackson Green was a big one, I thought. You got to make that play. The other one with Davis Hare, it was already the bottom of the 8th, and you were down by 2. But, yeah, field a comebacker right back to you, buddy. And then don't wild pitch him to third, and then don't wild pitch him home. But other than that, man, I thought Montgomery was okay, not great. He's faced that team a bunch. I thought Crowell looked good again for the most part. Gave up a really goofy bloop hit. That was just it. Florida had some bloop hits, and their first run was just a Baltimore chop double over after a shift beating hit. So it wasn't like they were crushing Montgomery. The home run was crushed, but other than that, they weren't crushing them. Then Lacey hits what should have been a 3-run homer. It's caught. James Tibbs hits a 415 fly ball to dead center that's an out. Like, it was just the team seemed evenly matched. They both struck out about the same amount of times. Florida State walked a few more times. I think Florida has a pretty elite guy there to close out games who only throws 87 miles an hour. But overall, I mean, you're disappointed because you lost to Florida, and I think you're disappointed that Montgomery couldn't give you 5 strong. He kind of, that home run's a bit. You don't do that with 2 outs, man. Come on, get out of the inning. But other than that, I thought Florida State had good at-bats, a good approach for the most part. The one inning where it got away from them, I thought, offensively, was they loaded the bases, then Reese Albert draws a walk to score a run to make it 2-2, and then you still got 1 out. You got your 2 freshmen coming up, Ferrer and Tibbs, both who have had great moments this year and look like they're going to be really, really good college baseball hitters, and they both struck out. Tibbs on 3 straight pitches, just fastballs. And Ferrer struck out as well. Put a ball in play there, get a double, split a gap, you win the game. You didn't. They came back, they hit a home run 20 minutes later, and you lose the game. That's how it goes in baseball. But this series is goofy. It's ridiculous that they keep doing this. These one-offs every 2 weeks in a different city. It's just dumb. It's I have to imagine it's the only rivalry that does this, and it's just dumb. So I wish they'd stop, but they won't. But anyway, it was a loss. But go ahead and win this series this weekend, and it'll still be a good week.
Yeah, I want to get to that real quick before we leave. But I didn't know if maybe they weren't going to have replay because it was like a neutral site game, and I don't know what rules prevail. But the run that put them ahead 2-1 Florida was on a double play that should have ended the inning, and I thought it was worth at least maybe challenging, reviewing the throw to first because the guy was called safe, and if he would have been out, that would have been an inning-ending double play, and they didn't review it. And then the next inning, Colin Vincent tries to catch a guy stealing, and they call the guy out, and he beat the throw by like a mile, and they reviewed that, and then the guy was safe, and it's like, well, that's a bummer. Why didn't they review or challenge the play beforehand? But to your point,
I think it was Toral made a motion right when it happened. As I don't know what the motion meant, but it might have been don't challenge it. I don't know. Yeah. But he didn't argue it at all. He didn't tell them to challenge it. And the first baseman knows. Your foot's on the bag. You can feel when the base is being touched before you catch the ball. So he knew. But yeah, man, those are the little things that keep this team from perhaps being great in the short term or the long term. As good as their pitching typically is, that double play's got to be turned.
Yes.
It's got to be turned. It gets you out of the inning without a run scoring. It's a 2-hopper right to your shortstop who gets out of his hand quickly because he's a very good shortstop. But Jackson Green is not a very good second baseman. He's not terrible, but a good second baseman turns that. And I'm not saying Jackson Green is bad. I'm talking about an elite, good defensive second baseman turns that one, and that's a double play. But he didn't. He didn't get it out of his hand. The transition wasn't great. And he ends up beating the Rat by, I don't know, half a second maybe, and they score a run that way. You're almost out of the inning, and it doesn't end up. You got the double play grounder you wanted. You just couldn't turn the double play. And then he also had a boot later in that inning, I think. And then the Vincent play that you're talking about, you got to make that throw, man.
Yeah.
You did a good job of blocking the ball on it. It's a hit and run. Their catcher, who's a worse hitter than Vincent, who also bats ninth, swings wildly at a ball in the dirt. He does a great job of blocking it. All he has to do is not make Jackson Green leap for the ball, and the kid's out by 6 feet. But he did, and he also did that in the bottom of the 8th. He made a nice block on a ball on Davis Hare's ridiculous split finger pitch. It bounces out in front. The kid gets a bad break. He's dead to rights at third, but Vincent doesn't make a solid throw. That's the kind of stuff you got to do, those little things to beat good teams. And Florida is a good team. They're, I think, a very good hitting team. But yeah, Florida State, it's not like, I mean, it could have gone either way. They got, home run was robbed, a couple plays not made in the field. Florida did make a couple plays. I love the end of the game. The kid from Florida, did you see what he did? No. Like, the Lacey's at second, Terrell's up. He hits a screamer in the right field, or what was going to be in the right field, that would have at least gotten another run on the board and brought the tying run to the plate. The second baseman makes a diving stop to his left, gets up and throws Terrell out, and then immediately takes off his hat and, like, doffs it to the crowd. Like he was a golfer. Like, thank you, guys. Thank you. That means a lot. It was a really bizarre reaction, but it was funny. But, yeah, they're pretty evenly matched teams, man. And who knows who's the better team because they don't face each other's best starting pitching.
You know, the next time we get Michael Alford, we probably have a boatload of questions we should ask him before this one. But just because I know he played baseball in college, is there any push? And listen, shout out to Running Knoll. Shout out to all the Florida State fans in Jacksonville that go to the baseball grounds in Jacksonville to support Florida State whenever they're in town. And it's a great crowd, man. They show up.
Yeah.
But by the fourth inning, like people got jobs and they start leaving, and it's. So I don't know. I guess you get everybody's money. That's all that really matters. You're still pulling in a good gate. But, man, forever, these series were played on campus. I don't know, man. This isn't being sour grapes because we just lost to the Gators, but I sure would like to see these series return to campus like a conventional series, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. Maybe do Thursday, Friday, Saturday if that makes more sense for whatever reason. I want to see iron sharpening iron, man. I want to see good on good, if you will.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer. You know, it's not
here. It just doesn't make. I don't even necessarily care if it's on campus. Like I like the Jacksonville game. I think you could do what Clemson and South Carolina do, which is play one at Clemson, one at South Carolina, and the middle win is some other play, like Charleston or somewhere.
But just do it all. But they do them.
They do them the same weekend.
All right. Okay.
That's what you got to do, man. Play the weekend series. This stuff is like you're playing Troy. Yeah. And look, Florida State's won more than they've lost here recently with meat. So I'm not. This isn't sour grapes. It's not real. It's like the football teams. It's not quite like having their scout teams play each other in football. But this isn't. Baseball is meant for the weekend. Those are the games that matter the most. Those are the games where you line up your pitching because they mean the most. And it's just these midweek games are to get work essentially. It's just to get work and. You want to win. I'm not saying you don't want to win, but it's to get work. And you're relegating Florida to the same thing Mercer and
Florida Gulf Coast,
and North Florida and JU. You're relegating it to that, and so are they. And it just doesn't make sense. These are two really good baseball programs, and it just doesn't. It'd be like Florida and Florida State football playing in the spring, like a scrimmage in the spring, but not playing a real game around Thanksgiving. It just doesn't make sense, and I wish the powers that be would figure that out. You can do what you're doing. Just have you play in Gainesville on Thursday, play in Jacksonville on Friday, play in Florida State on Saturday or Sunday if you have to, and that's your series. Or
then next year, and then the following
play
year,
each other.
Yeah, Friday, and then the following season have Tallahassee started off, then Jacksonville, then Gainesville.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's not that hard to do. Apparently it is. Apparently it's impossible. Just like it's impossible to get the students at the basketball games to sit courtside. They got to be behind the basket. So it's just impossible. Can't. Kelly Elliott, who nobody listening to this show knows, has ever heard of, she was Randy Spetman's number 2 in charge. She was not good at her job at all. It was a ridiculous hire. It just was. I mean, anybody that was around the program at that time understands that. It was preposterous. But she was hired, and it was her decision in 2010, 9, whenever that was, 10, to move the students behind the press row that was press row at the time and put them behind the basket. And we're in year 12 of that, and it's still the exact same way. Kelly Elliott, I don't even know what she's doing now. I have no idea where she is. She made the call, her and Randy Spetman. Let's make Randy Spetman, he was the AD. Those two are the reason that right now in 2022, the students who, when that happened, were 7 years old, are still standing behind the basket. It makes no sense. It's ridiculous. Change it. Michael Alford, heaven knows you're making a lot of changes around these parts these days, my man. How about doing something positive and getting this baseball series the way it should be? I mean, this is nuts. It's not good for either fan base. That game in Jacksonville is awesome, but it should be part of a real weekend series. not a one-off on a random Tuesday in March.
And also, next weekend, maybe we can at some point we get the spring football game and baseball in the same weekend. Florida State's playing Georgia Tech in Atlanta next weekend. So, and also, according to LinkedIn, Kelly Elliott is currently the Chief Operating Officer and Chief of Staff at St. John Bosco College Prep in the Los Angeles metropolitan area.
Yep. Anyway.
He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to this edition of Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. We will be live later tonight, 7 o'clock. Join us. Stay connected to warchant.com in the interim, and check out the Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 3 o'clock. Have a great one, everybody. We love you.